Hello and welcome to Bumble Stitches podcast episode 25. My name's Nicola and I'm coming to you from a rather sunny day in the UK where I live, and it's Wednesday the 6th of June. It's quite unusual for me to be podcasting on a Wednesday. I've got this week off from work and was hoping to do lots of making and getting out and about and lots of fun things, but unfortunately my back's been playing up a little bit, so it hasn't really panned out the way I wanted it to be. But in saying that, it is lovely to be here with you again, and I'd like to say a really warm welcome to all the new subscribers to the channel. There's been so many of you and I'm absolutely thrilled to welcome you along, and I hope that you enjoy the podcast today. The same for all you returning viewers. It's lovely to have you back, and I hope you're all comfortable and ready to enjoy a bit of crafty chat. A big thank you as well to Danny of Little Bobbins for mentioning my podcast on her podcast recently. I really appreciate your support, Danny. Thank you. And the same to Kay Jones of the Bakery Bears, who also gave the podcast a shout out. So thank you, ladies, both very, very much. I really appreciate it, and it's nice to just, you know, share and be able to expand our community a little bit more. I always love finding out about new podcasts and things that I didn't necessarily know about. So thank you very much for that. So what's been going on since I saw you last? We're now into June. The knit along is still carrying on in the Ravelry group, which is the old and new cow. And for those of you that are new to the podcast, this is a knit along that's running till the end of this year, and it is aimed at using up old stash or just existing stash. Doesn't have to be yonks old, but just stash that you've got that really needs to be knitted up into something gorgeous. So what we're doing each month in the Ravelry group, we're posting our finished objects. There's also a chatter thread, so please, you're more than welcome to come along and join in. As I said, it is running until the end of the year. So the May section of the knit along has come to an end, and I've closed the thread, and I'll be announcing a winner a little bit later in the podcast for the May finished objects, and I will be getting a thread open for your June finished objects. I didn't mention at the top of the podcast that obviously you can find me here on YouTube. You can also find me on Instagram as Bumble Stitches, and I do have an Etsy store, which is Bumble Stitches Store. So there's lots of places you can find me, and I'd love to see you in those places, so feel free to follow me. Okay, I have got some finished objects, and it has been all about the socks. I lost my sock mojo a little bit. I think we all go through phases, but it's back with a vengeance. So I'm going to share some sock finished objects and whip with you, and then I need you guys to help me to choose my next sock whip. I'm just going to have a little sip of my tea. As soon as I start talking to myself, I just get really dry. This is in my lovely Alice in Wonderland cup that my daughter bought me for Mother's Day, which I love. And I'm still spoiling myself with my David's tea that I got from my swap with Nina. I think I've got, tastes like pina colada, but I think it's called something colada, and it just is divine, coconut and pineapple and delicious. So anyway, what was I saying before I got distracted with tea? I'm sorry if the camera's shaking a little bit too. It's sort of perched on my sewing machine, so I'm hoping it doesn't take a tumble. Finished objects. Okay, I shared last time on the podcast, on episode 24, my completed Impressionist knit-along shawl, and I have blocked it now, so I'm going to scooch back a little bit so you can see that now it is blocked. And it's a big one, and I think it's blocked out really nicely. You can see, hopefully, you can see the laces blocked out, the water lily design and the eyelets, and I think the colours play really beautifully. This was knitted in Vine yarns. Kristen, my chair, oh, I'm having trouble getting back. My chair doesn't actually go very well on the carpet. Anyway, so this is knitted in Vine yarns. Kristen dyed up kits, especially for the mystery knit along, and I was really lucky to actually get one of those. So they sold like hotcakes, and this is on her Nouveau singles base, and the colours are Curious, Thor, and I can't remember the third. I did mention it all in the last podcast though, so it's there if you wanted to check. And I think she is periodically going to be dyeing up those colourways and adding them to the shop if you were interested. So it's a bit of a cheat because it was a finished object last episode, but it is blocked now, so you can see much clearer the lace design. So I'm very, very pleased with that. And I managed to get quite a straight top edge, as you can see, because sometimes with the crescent shawls, sometimes the top edge doesn't always block out straight, and I do like mine to be straight. And I achieve that by always knitting the first stitch on the edge twice. So I knit it once, pop it back across the needle and knit it again, and it just gives you a little bit of extra stretchability to play with. I mean, it's not a stretchy edge, but it gives you enough to get the edge nice and straight when you block it, which I think gives a nice result. So I'm going to pop this down now. As you can see, I've got the spare bed behind me. This is the craft room slash spare bedroom. And onto the socks. I'll show you the finished ones first. And I did pop these on my Instagram, and they were literally straight off my feet. I was working away last week in the northeast of England, in Sunderland. And I finished the socks and my feet were chilly, and I just popped them straight on and popped a picture of them unblocked on Instagram. And so many of you left so many lovely comments, so thank you. I was a bit overwhelmed really, because they weren't actually looking their best. They were literally straight from the needles and onto my feet, but they are nicely blocked now, so hopefully they're a bit more presentable for you, especially without my rather chunky feet in them. So these are the Winter Rose socks. It was the first design in the Handmade Sock Society, which is a club that's been run and is designed by Helen Stewart of Curious Handmade. And there are going to be, I think, a total of 6 sock patterns in the club. And you can still join at any time. And I'm sure that would entitle you to get in the patterns that are already released, plus the ones that are upcoming. It's already up to the 3rd pattern, and this is the only one that I've completed. But nevertheless, I'm really, really pleased. You can see it's a lace pattern. And what Helen has done with this is very cleverly put this little sort of mini rib section down the side, which allows for the larger sizes to still accommodate the way the lace pattern runs. And I've knitted these in Mr. B's yarn. Mr. B's yarn is available from Bird Street UK on Etsy. Their yarn is fabulous. If you haven't checked them out, please do, because their yarn is beautiful. And they've also got a rather fab podcast too, which is called the Bird Box Podcast. So do check that out as well. It's the yarn, the band from the skein, and you can see that's the pink champagne colourway, which is a really beautiful soft pink with just enough speckling to give it that interest. And it's always so exciting when you get to the section of yarn where you get the little dark pink. I get quite excited when one of those stitches pops up. So I knitted these in the large size on a 2.25mm needle, and as with all Helen's patterns, they're written so well that knitting them is a pleasure. Every single line, every single row of the pattern is all written out, and she does her percentage checklist list that you can see at a glance where you are with your progress. There are 2. Here's the other one, which you can see is not on the blocker, but the yarn is so pretty, and I think really does the pattern justice. So that's a finished object that I was pleased to get off the needles, because it had been languishing for quite some time while the Sock Mojo went for a little bit of a walk. Pop those down. And the next finished object that I have to share with you is also socks. And these are my scrappy socks. Again, I shared one of these on the last podcast. It hadn't been blocked and the ends hadn't been sewn in. But I'm pleased to say that after a day of pretty much doing nothing apart from sitting on the sofa with a hot water bottle, resting my back, I really focused my attention on getting these finished. So now we have a pair of scrappy socks, and these were knitted using mini skeins, mostly from the Nora George advent calendar that I got last year, and I'm really pleased with how they've turned out. I based them on Kay Jones from Bakery Bear. She knitted some scrappy socks and mentioned that she'd done 10 rows of each colourway for the stripes, so I thought that was a pretty good place to start. And also Lovely Jules had done very similar, so, and I'm always inspired by you, Jules, so I hope you don't mind that mine are almost a carbon copy of yours, but it was too good not to do. So they were simple to knit, they were enjoyable because you get the stripe factor where you just one more row until you colour change. But please, if I ever say I'm going to knit scrappy socks again, can you, somebody please message me, email me, comment and just say stop, because weaving the ends in on all these colour stripes and the cuff, heel and toe was not my idea of fun yesterday. I really had to give myself a good talking to and just get them done, and I'm not even overly impressed with, and you can see here where I've sewn in, I don't think it looks fab, but they're done, and that's the main thing. So I'm quite tempted because of all the ends that are woven in. I've got a feeling that these aren't going to wash and wear very well. I'm doubting their longevity and sturdiness. So as they look so pretty, I might just leave them as a almost as a decorative item and hang them up on the bunny blockers and just admire them and use them just as a decorative feature rather than a working pair of socks, because I've got a feeling that the ends might pop out and not be that great. So those are the scrappy socks, but I am really pleased to have got them done, and they do look pretty if you don't get too close. So another FO. So the sock mojo is strong at the moment. The sock mojo is very strong. That's going to lead me nicely into whips, works in progress. I hope this is light enough. Can you see? It's really blowing out over here where the window is. We have this every time. I don't know what the answer is. I suppose the best answer would be to move my desk underneath the window, but it just wouldn't work. So apologies if it is annoying. Let's get rid of these and let's move on to whips. And well, I've actually got a half finished object, or a hose, I think they're known in podcast land. And my whip is living in my beautiful knitting nest, which was created by Jules of So Sweet Violet. And this is just the perfect little fabric nest to keep a sock whip in. I've had it sort of by the side of the bed, I've had it by the side of the sofa, and it just poodles around the house with me, and it's always there and open. And even if you're in the middle of a row and suddenly the dinner's ready or the pasta's boiling over or whatever, you can just dump everything in and it's fine, no harm comes to anything. There's lots of room in here as well. So there's my little whip sitting in there. Let me just show you though the half finished object. And this is the Rita socks by Danny of Little Bobbins, and this was the second in her Vintage Love Story collection. So obviously the first was Cyril, the second is the Rita socks, and the third is Forever and Always, I believe, which is printed out and ready to go but isn't actually on the needles yet. Had a bit of a false start with the Rita socks. I do worry because I have got quite a large ankle, so I always tend to err on the side of caution with socks in case they don't fit. So I went for the large size in these, and it was really big. So I'd already got down to about, I'd knitted all the way from they're a top-down construction, I'd got to about here, realised they were way too big and frogged them, or frogged the sock that I was working on, and then I got cross and just abandoned it. But once the sock mojo kicked in last week and into this week, I thought I'd cast them on again, and such was my love for the pattern once I started knitting it in the medium size and could see that it was the right size, I knitted the whole sock end sewn in about a day and a half. So I was really, really pleased and really charging ahead with them. I knitted them on a 2.5mm needle, which seems to be just right for me. It's really trial and error with socks, but 2.5mm needle and 64 stitches seems to be just about right for my foot, and I'm quite happy that I've finally found what's right for my foot. You can see the lace pattern on these socks, which is just enough to keep your interest, really easily memorizable, but simple enough that you don't have to completely devote 100% of your attention to them. You can watch some TV while you're doing these. The yarn that I'm using, I'm going to show you a picture of the pattern just in case you haven't seen the Rita socks. So there they are there. Really, really pretty. Justin's got the Cyril socks. I knitted those and gave them to him when it was his birthday at the end of March, and was hoping at the end, I know Danny's running a knit along for the completed collection, the three pairs of socks, which I won't have finished in time because I haven't even started the third pair. But I thought it'd be nice to at least put the three together and take a photograph just for my own sort of record. But Justin's Cyril socks are so well worn and so well loved, I don't even think they'd be photograph ready, so they may have to just sort of be in the background slightly. But he does love them, and I guess that is the main thing. That's why we knit things for people. I digress, didn't I? So these are knitted in Beehive yarns, and it was a sock kit that I bought. I don't know if it came as a kit or did I buy them separately. So the bottom, the main yarn, is the Rose Lichen colourway, and the top one, the mini skein, is in Cassis. And that's the, oh, it was a kit because they're both on the same skein band. Yeah, Cassis Mini Rose Lichen is the main skein, and it's the Barbarella yarn Superwash Merino with Stellina. So you can see that there. I'm recording on my new phone today, and I don't know if it's actually focusing as well as my old phone used to, which is a bit annoying. Hopefully you can see. And there's Beth's super cool logo there. So Beehive yarns on Etsy, and I've cast on sock number 2, done the twisted rib, which I'm not a fan of. I love how it looks, but I don't really like doing it. And just done a couple of rows of the pattern just to get me started. And I've got a really cute little cake progress keeper from Chapel View Crafts, also on Etsy. So the sock mojo is strong, and I don't really want to let it go because I love knitting socks most of the time, and I like wearing hand knit socks, and I just think it's so nice to see all the beautiful yarns that we buy finally knitted up as items. As beautiful as skeins are, I think you don't really appreciate the beauty of the yarn until it's knitted, and when it's knitted into such a lovely pattern, then it really, really shines. So I have got on the shelf over here, on the top 2 cubbies there and there, I have got 6 project bags, and each one has a pattern printed in, a sock pattern, and a skein of yarn that is all caked up and ready to go, and the only thing that isn't in there is the required needles for the project. So I am going to, what's the best way to do this? Basically, I did this a while ago. I mentioned it on the last episode, and I've forgotten what yarn and what pattern is in which bag. So I thought it'd be quite fun, seeing as I'm halfway, well, not halfway, I've done the rib, but seeing as I'm halfway through knitting the Rita socks, I thought it would be really fun if you guys helped me just to randomly pick my next sock project. So what I might do is number them from 1 to 6, starting with the furthest corner, and you can't really see them clearly. Perhaps I'll do an Instagram post. Yeah, perhaps I'll do that. And then you can just comment whichever number you think, 1 through 6, and whichever one gets the most, I'll knit next. Does that sound like something that would be fun? It is just literally just a bit of fun, because I know that I'll be tempted to peek in the bags and make my choice on what I would like to knit first out of them, and I think it would be more fun just to randomly pick and not peek. So I'll get something sorted out for that, and perhaps put a thread in the Ravelry group as well with the photograph, and we'll see which project bag wins the race to be the next whip. Okay, I feel like I'm a bit rambly today. Let's have some tea. Whips continued. I have been knitting on my Tenya sweater, which is living in my little Liberty and Denim bag that I made. But I haven't really got very far. Well, I guess I have when I look back at how far I was on the last episode, which I basically just finished the lace. It's knitted from the bottom up, so I knitted the lace, which is the bottom of the sweater, and was going to start on the stockinette, but oh my goodness, stockinette till forever, or so it seems. So here we are. This is going to be awkward because it splits after, I don't even know how I'm going to show this to you. It splits after a certain length of stockinette, which is on being held on a spare cable here, and then you knit. See what I mean? It's just got a mind of its own. And then you knit further up until you get to the armpits and armholes, armpits, armpit holes, and shape for the neck and so on. But I just feel like I've been knitting on this my whole life now, and I think that's why I decided I needed to knit some socks and get some instant gratification. I also think, I don't know if it's the yarn, I'm hoping it's going to block out, but I don't know if you can see, I feel that it's all, oh, good grief, behave. I feel that it's a bit lumpy bumpy. Can you see that clearly? I feel that my actual knitting is a bit higgledy-piggledy, lumpy bumpy, and I'm hoping it's going to block out and look neater. I'm starting to doubt, as beautiful as this yarn is that I'm using, which is from the Wool Barn, it's a 50% silk, 50% baby camel, and it's so soft and drapey. This is the golden, I think it's golden colourway. I don't want to overshare, I did go through all this on the last episode. Yeah, camel silk 4-ply in the golden colourway. I feel it may even be too drapey, and that might be the problem. So it's all looking like a bit of a tangled mess, and stockinette forever, and I don't want to fall out of love with it, but I feel like I might be. So the bottom's all done. I'm hoping it will, I mean obviously it's a bit see-through, I would need to wear a vest underneath it. It's such a lovely pattern and I really want to get it done, and especially while we're in you know, in summertime would be the best time to get this done. So I guess I need to just get on with it, block it, and hopefully it'll be it'll all smooth out and be much nicer. So that's my Tenya. Pop that all to one side over there, and I've got another big whip as well, which is my door sweater. And again, the socks lured me away, and I should have been completing the bind off on this, and I didn't. And it's as far as, it's in a very precarious position with the tubular bind off, where I've split the two sort of alternate stitches, and it's ready for a Mammoth Kitchener session to get these bound off. And then I just have to sew the side seams up and get cracking on the sleeves. So this is the Door Sweater by Amy Miller. Yarn is John Arbon Knit by Numbers, 4-ply. It's 100% Falklands Merino, really, really lovely wool. Is a bit prone to pilling. So I need to get cracking on before it's even peeled, before I've got it completed. But it is beautiful, it's soft, it's good value for money, and I really, really want, this is very much a product knit. I want the sweater, but I'm not, one of my hairs on there, but I'm not particularly enjoying the knitting, so I just need to crack on and get some hours into that project. I'm just going to twizzle around again and get rid of this. Hopefully the knitting fairies will pop along, finish the tubular bind off and pop the sleeves on for me. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? Okay, so I think that's all my whips, and yes, I think it is. So I'm going to move on now to, let's have some fun. Let's have the winner for the May Old and New Cal. So the prize for the knit along for May is this sock set from Lay Family Yarn. It's part of the Flower Fund charity drive that's going on all year. Indie dyers and makers and so on are producing some beautiful yarn and bags and all sorts of lovely things, and proceeds of the profits are going to the Marie Curie Fund. And this is the Crocus colourway, so I was more than happy to buy this skein as a prize for our knit along, because I know that it's also doing some really worthwhile charity work as well. So I did a random generator before I started podcasting, and I'm just going to pull up the winner on my iPad, because we had 17 entries in the May finished objects thread, which is amazing. And honestly, the standard of projects that are popping up in those threads are amazing. Everything from socks to sweaters and colourwork projects and all sorts of things. And some of the yarn that has been liberated from stash is just quite incredible. People that have said this has been in my stash for years, and it's been like some of the first deep stash that I ever bought, and it's now finally become something knitted. I think it's just brilliant. So well done to you all. I wish I could give you all a prize, but sadly I can't. But congratulations, you are all winners for getting those projects done and getting that stash used, because then you can buy some more stash. Okay, so we had 17 entries, and I popped in random.org number 2 to number 17, and the winner was post number 5, which is Whitecliff Knits, which is Simone. I believe she's down in Kent in the UK. I'm just going to show you, I don't know if this is going to be too glary, and Simone knitted this really, really cute little envelope baby sweater with some stash that she had, and it doesn't really like showing you that, but it was post number 5. So congratulations, Simone, you have won this lovely sock set from Lay Family Yarn. And if you drop me a message on Ravelry or a DM on Instagram or wherever you happen to be, I can pick that up, and I'll be delighted to get that sent out to you in the post. Moving on to June's knit along, I don't have a prize to hold up and show you, but what we do have as a prize for the finished objects thread for this month is a pattern donation from Kelly June. And Kelly June is a member of the group, the podcast group on Ravelry, and a supporter of the podcast, and she has very, very kindly and generously offered a prize of a pattern, a Ravelry pattern up to the value of $10, which is amazing, because they're pretty much, I can't think of a pattern on Ravelry that you couldn't get for $10 unless it was like an ebook or something. But for single patterns, that's very, very generous, and I'm sure we've all got lots of patterns in our queues, in our favourites that we'd really like to get, and that would be just amazing to win that. So get your finished objects in the thread, which I will be opening today, and at the end of the month someone will win that prize from Kelly June. So thank you for that. I'm going to move on to, I'm going to talk about brioche, and it's a very serious subject. I know lots of people have been knitting brioche for a long time and find it easy, and there are those of us, me, that just love it but cannot get their heads around it and have this fear factor of even trying, and that's where I am at the moment. I've had some beautiful yarn which I bought from Amy of Little Tailoress, now Dandelion and Dogwood, quite a while ago, and I bought this to knit a it was actually a Find Your Fade set. There are a couple of minis that go with this as well, but these are the 4 main skeins, and you can see the colours are absolutely beautiful because it goes through from just the peach on its own to the peach with speckles, and then some aqua and sort of beigey colours and yellow get mixed in, and then to the end. Well, you can see it's beautiful. I didn't do a Find Your Fade shawl in the end, and it's been sitting in stash, and it really needs to become something beautiful. It needs to join in with our knit along. So the new pattern that I'd like to knit with it is the Shisui Shrug, which is a pattern by Suzanne Summers, and this is it here. I'm trying to show it to you. I don't think there's anything, it's just details on the front page, there's no actual pattern. But you can see it's a really lovely long, it's sort of like a cross between a shawl and a shrug, and it's knitted in brioche and garter stitch, and it's got little sleeves, and she's put little tassels on the points, and I think it's really lovely, and I would dearly like to knit it, and I think in those yarns from Amy it would look amazing. I'm just trying to find another picture of the pattern to show you. Where's the back? Oh, she didn't put tassels on hers. I think one of the finished objects on Ravelry, someone had put tassels on the bottom, and it looks really, really lovely. So that's the inspiration. So I decided to, there are a couple of really good tutorials on YouTube. One is by Suzanne herself. She's done a tutorial for the setup, which is fab. And if you know how to brioche already, if you don't know how to do brioche already, then that's where the problem starts. So I also checked out Kristen of Bull and Vine. She's done some really good tutorials as well. So I got 2 different coloured yarns and thought, yep, this is it. How difficult can it be? Had a few chats with people on Instagram about it, and there was quite a definite split between those that were like, yeah, it's fine, you'll be able to do it, and those that said, oh, I'm scared too, and you know. But I thought, well, it's only knitting, so how bad can it be? So I started out with my 2 colours of yarn and had a little practice, and went okay for about 2 or 3 rows, and then just brain wouldn't work at all, and it just really isn't happening. So I've got 2 choices. I can either persevere with YouTube tutorials and try and crack brioche that way, or my local yarn shop does have a class this coming Saturday for brioche, so I might be a bit late to get a space, but I think I may later on today have another go at doing it from a tutorial on YouTube, and if it's really proving difficult, then I think I might just give the lady at the yarn shop a quick email and see if she can fit me into the class on Saturday, because it's something I really, really want to do. So give me your thoughts on brioche, if you think it's difficult, if you think it's easy, if you're scared too, like me, if you want to be the I'm Scared of Brioche Club with me, feel free. But I just think that these yarns and that pattern would look really, really lovely, and it's a shame that I can't do it. I think what's going to be difficult as well is that because it's 2 colour brioche, and some of these yarns are quite similar in the colours, I think distinguishing between the first pass and the second pass of the brioche might be a little bit challenging as well. Maybe I'm making things artificially difficult for myself, but yeah, so we'll see, and that is the plan. So that's planned knitting really. The next thing I would like to share with you all is sewing. I was going to go on to acquisitions, but I'll leave that till the end. So I've done quite a lot of sewing lately, as you know. I did some sewing for the shop, and thank you to everyone that's been to the shop and bought my bags and the kits that I made, collaborated with Polly of Paper Stories. Really, really appreciate that. But I've had a little sew for my own pleasure, as it were, this last week. And I shared last time on the podcast the pattern I was going to be doing, which is the Take Along Tote by Sometimes Sewing. And I got this from I followed the link on Instagram for Never Not Knitting, and went to their store, and you can buy the pattern from there. And that's a photograph, an actual photograph of the finished bags. And I treated myself to some Rifle Paper Company cotton and steel fabric in the Amalfi design. I bought two colours actually. I bought the Midnight, which is this dark, well, it's black, as Midnight would suggest, with this beautiful herb garden pattern on. Did I say it's called Amalfi? And I also got the cream background version of the same fabric. And this is my Take Along Tote. Now, it isn't 100% finished. It's got a couple of pins in here. And the pattern does call for you to sew, to top stitch along this section here. And obviously that will go through to here. But I would need to use black thread because of the outside. And if I do that, it's going to look like a pig's ear on the inside, and I really don't want to do that. So I think I'm going to have to hand sew it, just sort of slip stitch that closed. And I hate hand sewing, so that's probably why I haven't done it yet. But other than that, it is complete. You can see it's quite large. It's got a circular base. That was a challenge. Sewing around in a circle and getting it all to fit nicely. And inside I have used, I don't know if you could be able to see, so it's pretty much the same as a nice pocket inside in the same fabric as the outside. And this fabric I've used inside is a basic grey fabric. It went really, really well because I thought it matched almost perfectly the colour of some of the foliage on the front, and just some little webbing handles, and one pops through the other, and you have your little Take Along Tote. So this is where the Sashui Shrug is going to live. Yeah, that's where it's going to live. So all my yarn's going to pop in there, and it's all going to be wonderful, and the brioche is going to be fab, and I'm going to be swinging my tote around and brioching all over the place, except it's not quite gone that way, has it? I'd recommend this pattern if you like sewing and you like knitting and you want something nice to pop your a large whip in. You could easily fit a big sweater in here. I mean, I've just popped 4 skeins of yarn in there, and it's heaps of room. And the pattern does come with a large size and a small size, so I'm going to hopefully make a well, I am going to make a small one in the white background fabric, just for like socks and smaller projects and that. So yeah, I'm really, really pleased. I would recommend it. It's an easy pattern. You know, it's a little bit fiddly getting the circular bottom in, but really, really worth it. So I'm very, very pleased with that. I've also been I popped into Hobbycraft, which is if you're in the UK, you'll know it's a sort of like a big one of those big shed stores on retail parks. I guess, is it like Michael's in the US? I have been to a Michael's once, but there was so much more stuff in Michael's. You guys are really spoiled. Anyway, so I'm waffling on. I went into Hobbycraft and they had a half-price sewing event, which I believe is still on, and I mostly went in there to stock up on the thread that I like using for my sewing my bags, which was all on half price, which is amazing. So I buy the big 1,000 metre spools and they're normally £10, and obviously they were £5, so that was a real bargain. But I picked up this pattern in there, this Simplicity. Let's just move that out of the way. this Simplicity pattern, and this is the Dotty Angel collection for this sort of pinafore dress, which I've seen all over Instagram and all over Pinterest. I think it's been out for a very long time, but the pattern was half price. It was like £3 something, so it was a real bargain. And no way am I cool or trendy enough to wear something like this, but I thought it would be really nice just in a plain linen to do either the tunic view here or even the dress just in plain linen for the summer, and then the tunic to wear sort of with the 3/4 length jeans or leggings or whatever. So I picked that up. So if you are in the UK and you've got a local hobbycraft, pop down there because they've got some really good bargains. They've quite a few patterns, all the threads, lots of, you know, various different sewing bits and pieces. So that was something else that I bought. I'm kind of moving into acquisitions, aren't I? I'm creeping along. But before I move into acquisitions completely, I'd just like to say, I did mention how happy I am that so many more people have subscribed to my podcast. It's made me really, really happy. And what I'd like to do is a giveaway when I reach 500 subscribers. And it isn't actually just bonkers. It isn't actually that far away now. So I will be making one of these. And I think I'll find some goodies to pop inside it for a 500 subscriber giveaway. So keep an eye out. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe. Once I get to 500, I will be making a bag like this. I don't know if it'll be this exact fabric, so I don't think I've got enough to make another one in this fabric, but I've got some lovely Cath Kidston fabrics and all sorts of things. So I will make something, hopefully, that will be lovely as a 500 subscriber giveaway, and I'll pop some goodies in there as well. So yeah, subscribe if you haven't already, and any of your knitty friends, tell them, because once we hit that magic number, I shall start cutting out a pattern to make one of these, and we'll do a nice giveaway for you all, just as a sign of my appreciation. Right, I'm going to move on to some of the things I bought, and then I really need to crack on and do some jobs around the house. So on my travels, as you know, I travel around a lot for work, and I always seek out the yarn shops where I can. And I was in Brighton a couple of weeks ago, and a trip to Brighton is not complete without a trip to Yak. So I popped along there, and I did have a mission in mind, and that was to get some Olan yarn. And I wanted to get enough to make a Zweig sweater, one of the Caitlin Hunter designs that I'm sure you all know anyway. I haven't printed the pattern or anything yet, but I have got the yarn. And I have bought it's a shame I had to buy 4 skeins of the main colour, because it just would have gone over. And this is I'll show you with one. So this is, oh, my hair is everywhere. You probably noticed I've had a haircut, and my hair is causing me great problems at the moment. It seems to be coming out on a daily basis. I'm losing so much hair, it's ridiculous, and I thought a cut might help, but it's just everything in my house is covered in my hair, which is a bit annoying. Anyway, so this is the Olan yarn, and I don't know how this colour's going to be captured on camera. And this is called, what is it called? So beautiful, Gunpowder, and it's a very dark navy / almost purple with blacky purpley. It's really difficult to describe the complexity of this colourway. That's quite accurate. And this is on the sock base by Olan, and it is sock light, 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon. Absolutely beautiful. As I said, I couldn't quite get away with the size I need to knit. I was hoping to get away with 3 skeins, but the lovely lady in Yak, whose name I don't know, she was really helpful and pulled the pattern up on Ravelry for me, and we did a quick check, and I was going to go over, so I will have quite a lot left of the 4th skein, but it wasn't worth the risk. And the colour for the interesting part, the band of the sort of like lace work / colour work, is this one underneath. and that colourway is called, what is it called? Slow Motion. It's the same, it's the Sock Light. Isn't it beautiful though? I really, really love it. Again, the complexity of the dyeing of this Olan yarn. Every single skein in the shop was beautiful. I could have quite easily bought the whole lot. But restrained myself to a sweater quantity. If that's restraint, then I think I did quite well. But it's beautiful. I love it. And I think it's going to be so nice in a Zweig sweater for the winter. So that was a purchase recently. Other thing that I had my eye on was I finished my Birds of a Feather shawl by Andrea Mowry quite a while ago, and that was knitted in Fine Fish yarns, and I was really, really pleased with the way that the way the yarns worked, and the mohair and merino combination was beautiful, and the colourway. Mum also really, really liked it, and so it went to live with Mum. So I thought, I really do need a Birds of a Feather. I think everyone's knitting with mohair at the moment, and for a good reason. It's beautiful. So I was perusing Etsy, as I do sometimes, and I had a little look at Cozy Posy Yarn Company, which is the yarn dyeing company owned by Antonella. And I'm sure if you're familiar with Antonella, you'll know how lovely she is and how talented she is, and all her yarn is beautiful. So she had made some kits that were Birds of a Feather kits, and I couldn't resist, because this is, and when my mum sees this, she's going to want this one, but sorry Mum, you can't have it. This is going to be for me. This is Cozy Posy Yarn Company. Look at these beautiful little tags with the cutest little sheep in little tiny stripy socks. It's just adorable. The whole aesthetic that Antonella's got going on is just beautiful. It's scrumptious. This is called Rose Quartz, and this is Cozy Soft Sock, 85% superwash merino, 15% nylon. It's a really nice plump but squidgy sock yarn, and you can see the colour is beautiful. It's going to be like a hug wearing this. It's going to be so gorgeous. I can't wait. And this is the corresponding Cozy Floof. This is called 70% mohair, 30% mulberry silk. So this is the matching mohair that I have to go with it. It's just, well, words fail me. This has to be my favourite yarn purchase for a very, very long time. So there they are. That will be my Birds of a Feather. So, I feel very lucky to be able to get this beautiful yarn. Really do. Very quickly wind up the acquisitions. Something that I bought was really, really useful was this little tag that I got from Hedgerow Yarns. It's a little wooden laser printed tag with Kitchener on the back. Isn't it fab? I couldn't resist getting it because I do have, when I first learned how to Kitchener socks, a lady on Instagram sent me a photograph that she uses to remember the little Kitchener, what's the word I'm looking for? Little Kitchener routine. And I've been using that, just pulling that photograph up on my iPad every time I need to do Kitchener. I just still can't. Once I'm doing it, I remember how to do it, but I can never remember how to start it off. So I thought, rather than relying on always having my phone or my iPad there ready just for me to do Kitchener, I'll get this and pop it on my little Notions pouch. So that was super cool to get one of those from Hedgerow Yarns, and I think she's still got those in her shop. And the very last thing that I have got to share with you all is the latest copy of Liner magazine, which I now know how to say properly. I used to call it Lane, but I love this magazine. It's literally one of this and Making are my favourite magazines. I'm not going to do a magazine review, obviously, because that would just go on too long. I'm just going to show you a couple of the patterns that have really caught my attention. And the first is Nutkin. It's just this beautiful detail in here at the bottom of the sweater. I think this is knit in Kettle Yarn Co. Islington DK, so it's a DK sweater, so it won't take a lifetime to knit. I just think it's absolutely gorgeous. I'm going to try and show you a bit more detail. So you can see the rib here, and just and on again here on the cuff. I think it's beautiful, so I think that's going to have to be on my wish list to knit in the winter time. And something else that really caught my eye in here is this design, which is Lotta, and this is a dress, a knitted dress, which is stunning. Now believe me, I am not knitted dress shaped, but I think it would work if you knitted it a bit shorter to make it more of a tunic that you could wear with jeans or leggings. So you can see here, but the design details on this are beautiful. But I think if you knitted it to about here, it would really work with jeans. I'm not quite sure what yarn that is knitted in. I will quickly tell you, because I'm all interested again now. So it's page 111. Just talk amongst yourselves while I'm doing this. 111. It is knitted in Tuku wool sock, 80% finish wool, 20% nylon, and it is knitted on 3.5mm needles. Gosh, that's a lot of knitting, isn't it? But it is beautiful. So, but there are lots of lovely there's lots of lovely patterns in this book, in this, I call it, it's more of a book than a magazine, let's face it. And even all the adverts are just beautiful and inspirational. There was one that caught my eye. You know, sometimes when you just need that little bit of inspiration for colours and things. Anyway, sorry, I've stopped and started looking at my magazine, which is very rude of me, seeing as you're sitting there listening to me. Okay, so just to wrap everything up, thank you for watching. I really, really appreciate it. It's been lovely to have you here. It's been quite cosy in this room, hasn't it, with all of us? Thank you for subscribing if you're new, especially. Thank you very much. Thank you for sticking with me if you're a seasoned viewer. Please do join in on the knit along and join the Ravelry group. That would be fab. Look out for my post about choosing my next sock whip and see what we can choose for me to cast on next time. And please do subscribe if you haven't already, because I will be doing that 500 YouTube subscriber giveaway. I will be back hopefully very soon, but in the meantime, happy knitting. Take care. Bye.